Hello everyone, it's day 2. Today I didn't do anything that's visual for the Productiv app that you could actually see a difference. Actually add a new repository because what I showed in the video, I just made in Visual Studio Code and I never pushed it to GitHub. I was kind of just like experimenting with what I wanted the UI to look like before I dynamically created it in JavaScript, because it's hard for me to style things that way, just to see how everything's going to come together. So today I installed Webpack, SAS, dev server, and all that. So and that build was like still a little bit of a challenge, because anyone knows to work with Webpack, all those steps that you have to add to the webpack.config file, all the things that you have to add in the JSON file and all that. And I haven't used it enough to the point that I can just type that stuff out. Like I literally wrote like a step-by-step guide. I typed it up in Microsoft Word, so I still have to go through that. Maybe one day I can just rattle it off, but today is not the day. But yeah, so I implement that, got that working, everything connected, got SAS connected with it. I did like just change the background color of the main page just to make sure everything was working right. And I have the live refresh with the dev server. So, and I implemented a couple modules, like helper modules. Like I have a get element module that instead of having like global variables for like document.query selector, you just have a function. I actually got the idea from John Smilga. He posted a YouTube video probably like a week ago, I think. And he told us about how to use that function to make it easier, and to also put a try catch in there, because I know I'm guilty of it never fails whenever I write a project. For query selector, at least 1 or 2 times, or maybe even more than that, I forget to put the period inside the selector, so then it messes up my code somewhere else, and I think I've done something wrong with the logic. Whole time I just forgot a period. So the function that he created, it checks and it gives you an arrow in that try catch telling you check your component. So as soon as you write it, because you're calling a function instead of saying document.query selector, you're just calling the get element function and passing in the name of the class with the period in the class name in quotes. So it's automatically going to know as soon as you add that function that you have an error, opposed to you go to do something else and you find out you got a red console.log error or whatever. So I got that. I also implemented a module for create elements. So some people I know, they just change the inner HTML and put everything inside one giant template string, which I'm still not sure, like, which way are you supposed to do it? I always thought that they said don't use HTML, inner HTML that much, just because it completely just wipes out everything. I thought it was like, and I want to say Maximilian Schwartz, I cannot say his name, but Academine. In his Udemy course on JavaScript, he said something about it was low-key a security risk. I can't remember exactly what his reasoning was, but anyway, so instead of doing it that way, I always just use the create element function. But rather than literally having to go through like 5 lines, you got to create the element, you got to add the class, add the text content, and all that a million times. You have this giant function. If you have, like, say you're dynamically rendering a nav bar or something, you have to create all these elements. I created helper functions for each one, and I was specific. So I have just a regular create element. So like my main tag, header, stuff that doesn't have a class. Then I have create text element, so an element that has a class and text content. Then I have create element with class if it just has a class but no content. And then create element, what was the other one? I think create text element, I can't think of what I called it, but basically it has, I think, a 4th parameter for a source or the attribute, any one of those extra properties or whatever. And then I have a create link. So for the link, of course, you got to have the source for the href, you gotta have the class, you gotta have the text content and all that. So, but yeah, so I got that. I added, so my index.html file, because I'm using Webpack, that's dynamically created. So that's literally going to be blank. What else did I do? I think that's all I added so far, in terms of like the build. This morning, though, I finally went back to cs50. I looked at my grade book, and the last thing I submitted was September 29th, I think. So it's been literally just about a little over a month since I've done anything with that course. I literally watched the video for week 3, and then, I don't know, I just was not in the mood to actually do the problem set. So it's not like I stopped because I didn't understand. I literally didn't even attempt at all to do the problem set or the lab. I just wanted to, I forgot what I was working on at the time, but like I was just more interested in building something at the time. But anyway, I went back to cs50. I did rewatch the shorts videos for the 3 sort, merge sort, binary sort, and selection sort, because for the lab, we had to basically tell, based on the text files we were given, which file or which program used which type of sort or whatever. So I just watched the short videos that like the TSA or whatever you call them, had rather than watching that whole 2-hour lecture again, because it wasn't necessary. So I finished that, uploaded it, and then for the problem set, there's 2 programs that we have to do, plurality, and then we can either choose between runoff or Tideman. Me personally, I've only been doing there's 2 types of pset complexity levels that you can choose from: less comfortable, more comfortable. I've just been doing the more comfortable. So for this problem set, the runoff one is the less comfortable one. So for this one, the runoff is the less comfortable one. I read the assignment. I started writing like pseudocode. They give us the file, but then it's like 5, I think for that one it's like 5 functions that we have to write. They're basically empty functions. We have to implement the code and make it work. And like I had wrote pseudocode for all the functions. Then I don't know if anybody ever has taken CS50, that IDE, it times out so much. And if you don't remember, I'm so used to my Visual Studio Code auto saving, like I don't remember to just save. And so if it times out, and it gets to the point where a little clock keeps coming up saying it keeps retrying, and you have to refresh it, whatever you did, it does not save it. So all my little pseudocode was gone. And so at that point, I was kind of over it for the day. But in terms of for that class anyway, because I'd already finished the lab and I finished the first problem. So I was like, you know what? That's good enough, a good stopping point for the day for that class. And then I wanted to work on the Productiv app. So I got Webpack going. So I'll go back to CS50, see if I can knock out that second homework problem set tomorrow, maybe. Hopefully it won't take more than a day, but we'll see. Knock on wood, if every time I say that, it does take more than a day. Also, early today, I listened to Dev Thompson's Twitter space. He had, I think like 8 or 9 people do mock interviews. They only asked him 2 questions, but it was hiring managers from various corporations. They asked 2 questions to each interviewer or interviewee. And then they gave their feedback based on their answer. Really wasn't an in-depth interview. However, I was just typing along on Notepad while I was listening to the Twitter space I had it coming through my Alexa, so it could be nice and loud because some people's microphone was low. And then I was doing my CS50 problem set or whatever. So I was multitasking or whatever. But they had a lot of good information. I was making notes as I went, and I saved it on my computer so I could for reference. I basically typed the questions that they asked, and then they told what type of answer or what specific things they were looking for in that answer. Basically, my take on it, every interview question is asked for a reason. And when they ask you that question, it's kind of like not like code, but I don't want to say a trick question, but they're asking you one thing, but like they're looking for something below the surface. If that makes any sense at all. I feel like that was like the weirdest explanation ever. But yeah, so whatever they ask you, like they want you to dig deeper. They're really gauging to see how you can do X, Y, Z. In some ways, that answering the actual question isn't really what they're looking for. They're looking for like your approach to answering the question, like what you choose to bring up and, that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really interesting to do that. What else? And that's it. That actually sounded like a lot. I actually like the fact that I broke up my day rather than just spending a whole day doing something, just because like I was doing for the majority of the other 100 Days of Code challenge that I did. Now I feel like I'm one step further in, many different things I'm trying to do all at once, opposed to I finished one day of this. I still have these 3 other things that I haven't touched in a day. So that was cool. I wanted to add something to my challenge. So like I said, whenever I have something like a visual change that you can see to the Productiv app or whatever I'm working on, even, after I finish that app, I'll make a video rather than a text video. I mean, not text video, rather than a video like this where I'm just talking, I'll just show what I did and maybe like, I don't know, actually, no, I'll probably do both. Never mind, I take that back. Yesterday, though, I only did the Productiv demo app just because I really didn't do anything else besides that. I kind of was like planning out how the challenge was going to go or whatever. But yeah, I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but day 2.